Everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SoundWeb Studios, brought to you by our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Me and Molson's Zia Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Coming soon, Missing 2 by Me and Molson's Zia, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of King David, now on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner. Make sure you check it out today. And the sensei of swing, Eric Diamond, with his latest All of Me, new music coming soon, ericdiamondmusic.com, and on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and more. Make sure you check it out today. We're here with a terrific gentleman, multi-talented actor, raised in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with diverse and rewarding career in film, TV, theater. He appeared in over 80 productions and a breakthrough role opposite Sinbad and Walt Disney's First Kid. He was also in a number of productions like Rocketman, Honeymoon, Space Marines, and also The Cable Guy, Dark Planet, Raiders of the Sun, Dune Warriors, Out of Time, Messiah, Married with Kids, and more. He's made his directing debut while starring as a death row psychopath in Adam Robert in Fish. And he has a new release taking place in 2016 with The World in Chaos. We'll find out what that's about. Live, ladies and gentlemen, Plus Studios, somewhere in beautiful Dallas-Fort Worth, the amazing multi-talented actor, diverse, rewarding career, and he's part of Cash Collectors. Ladies and gentlemen, multi-talented Blake Boyd. Blake, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. I love your energy. I wish I could have that introduction wherever I went.
Well,
that's better than hail to the chief when the president walks in.
Oh, that's true. You know something? I wish I would come up with that, but it's like I'd rather have my own theme music. It's like the final countdown, that's out. Eye the Tiger, that's out. I
Yeah.
guess I have to think of something. It's like I'll have to get a composer to come up with something. I mean, you got to keep people in business. You know, that's like do something original, right? So
I actually was at the White House once in the mid 90s and Clinton was president and I was with a group and it is a surreal experience. The Marine Band is off in that long hallway that you see the president walking down, and you don't know that they formed there because they're the Marines. They don't make a lot of noise. And this brass band plays. They don't pipe in "Hail to the Chief." A live brass band plays it, and it's a very surreal experience. All the military personnel come to attention. The President of the United States walks in, but I don't know. I would say your greeting that you just gave me is rivaling the.
Well, I do appreciate that compliment. And maybe I'll do my version of Hail to the Chief. I'll have to hire somebody to write, or I'll have to write. So I got to be creative like you here. So you're a multi-talented actor with a diverse, roaring career in film, TV, theater, appeared over 8 productions. Your breakthrough role came opposite Sinbad and Walt Disney's First Kid. You're in Rocketman, Honeymoon, Space Marines, The Cable Guy, Dark Planet, Raiders of the Sun, Doom Warriors, Out of Time, Messiah, Married Kids. The list goes on and on. You made your directing debut while starring as death row psychopath Adam Robert in Fish. You have a new release taking place in 2016 with World in Chaos as banks and all the stores out there basically go under attack, looting, robbing, and loan fraud are taking place, rampant and in need of law and order. And of course, the movie is Cash Collectors. You play a guy that ambitious TV executive, constant creative overdrive, and just a lust for money and power. How's that tie in for getting all that? Blake, tell us how you first got started.
As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Dallas and I live in LA now, and I got a business degree. And I came out to LA as working as a model, shooting commercials, and I thought I'd fail miserably and go back and get an MBA or a law degree. And within a month or two of living in LA studying theater, I thought to myself, oh my God, what have I done? I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I had an affinity toward it, the art of it. And I also had an understanding and a respect for the business of Hollywood because that's what it is. And before we started, Mike, you and I were talking about just being around for a long time. If you just hang around long enough, keep a good attitude, you'll land some punches. You'll do well. And I got into it at first, to answer your question honestly, I wanted to be a star. But then when I started studying it and understanding the art of acting and the theater, I wanted to be good at it and I enjoyed it. And actually now the most fulfilling thing that I do is go to New York or LA and do a play,
Uh-huh.
live theater. And so those things tell me I'm in it for the right reason. It's not about fame or money or adoration, things like that. So, because those, if those are your motivation, you've had accolades, you've had success, and if it's just the adulation and admiration, it'll wither, it'll fade, it won't last. So
Hmm.
that's how I got in, and that's why I'm staying. I really do enjoy it.
Hmm. And I think that's great as well too. And of course, a testament to all the people stuck to it. And like today's social media, where it's just appearance on Instagram, and I mean you're gone like what 5 minutes. And to be honest with you, I don't remember who did what. What was it like 5 days ago at this time? I don't remember who did what on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, our attention spans are so much shorter than they used to be. When you and I were growing up, we go back and look at movies from when we were kids and now, and they're completely different. I just watched Cash Collectors today, and the movie opens next week at the Beverly Hills Film Festival. It premieres April 1st. Hope if you're in LA, you can make it. Um, it's over at the Man's Chinese Theater, the big famous complex where they had all the big premieres of, like Gone with the Wind and Star Wars and all those movies. We're not in that big theater. We're behind it in the Cineplex behind it, but we're still there.
Uh-huh.
And but it's to your point, everything is so much quicker. And I looked at Cash Collectors today, and it is about reality television. And it's first of all, reality television has evolved. It started in the 70s about a family. And then, of course, Barber and Langley created Cops in the 80s. They
I
wanted
remember that.
to have something that was strike proof. Because remember the writer's strike in 1987? You and I are way too young to remember that, Mike.
Not,
But
1987, I think a lot happened. You had the writer's strike, you had the stock market crash, and
yeah,
my
real
gosh,
estate
what else
crash.
happened in '87?
There was a real estate crash. There was savings and loan crash. And so a lot was going on then. And so Barber and Langley decided we need to make a show that is strike proof, that is not contingent upon creative types creating it. So they created Cops. And it was genius on their part. So reality television has been around for a long time. And what Cash Collectors is, it's a comedic take on reality television, how it's not reality television.
Hmm. Reality, but not reality. That's what it is.
Now, maybe back in the 70s, when the first reality show was about a family and the breakaway character was the gay son. And back then, that was just so unique. Maybe it was reality back then. Maybe the first few seasons of Survivor were, I don't know. But now, well, I'll leave everyone to have their own opinion about what reality television is, but it's an indictment of society. And it's, I think, where we've gone, that
Hmm.
what seems real is not necessarily real, because real doesn't cut it anymore. We have to do something further. We have to do something more. And that's what Cash Collectors is about. And I don't know if it's really all that healthy for us, but it is entertaining.
Hmm. And do you think with cash collectors, and of course I watched the trailer and all that, do you think all the looting and everything is really happening today, which kind of just mirrors too much on what's really going on? I was watching it. I thought about those Ferguson riots, and I thought, oh my gosh, that Minneapolis, and where else? It's like you got downtown burning just to loot stuff or protesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, and I don't, you know, the sad reality is there are oppressed people that are hurting. There is social injustice, and you held up a book that I want to read. Actually, I read a book on King David. It's a book for men of leadership. The sweet
The
psalmist.
sweet psalmist, yes.
King David is my favorite biblical character, and he was certainly a flawed man. But and I'll can't remember what the title of it is, but it was out of print, but I found it. But you know, King David was an artist and a businessman. His biggest asset was he could honor successful people. He wasn't jealous of people. He loved giving praise to others. He had a
Hmm.
generosity of spirit. There was a humility about him. He was a murderer. He was an adulterer. He was prideful when he counted his army. He didn't have to. That was out of pride. But the reason I tie this back into it in our society is we have people unfortunately that are there's too much greed. There's too much uh, self-centeredness and selfishness. We're supposed to. Jesus Christ said it. Whatever you've done to the least of these, you've done to me. And so when you see the rioting and you see the protests, it's wrong. You can't ever have violence, protest, rioting. It's not acceptable. But I do understand where it's coming from because there are people that are really having a tough time of it. So I don't know. That's where you want to go with the interview, but when you said about the writing about cash collectors,
No,
that's
no, 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 that's perfectly fine. I think we're getting into cash collectors as well, too. And of course, tying back in, of course, leading up the cash collectors, you made your directing debut starring as a death row psychopath in Fish as well, too, as Adam Robert. Kind of made me think of in a sense like, Silence of the Lambs.
well, yeah. And this was years ago. I shot it on film and I finished on film. This was in the early days of digital filmmaking, and I was kind of arrogant. I wanted to do it on film like the big guys, and it what I learned is I learned how to make a movie. The next step is to learn how to make a good one because it's two different things. You can make a movie, but then you got to make it good. And I've actually kind of realized I'd rather just act and produce. Because I'm a producer on Cash Collectors. I'd rather look at a cut and offer my notes to the editor and the director, and then just go have a cigar, and they can decide what they want to with it. But as far as creating something from the ground up, there's too many other things that I'd like to do actually. But maybe I'll do it again. I've got an idea about a sniper in Vietnam. I want to do a short film about him. So maybe I'll go and do that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great idea. I remember back in the day, you talked about let them do the thing, go have a cigar. That's how most of the big producers succeeded back in the day. It's like here's what you do, here's what you do. I'll go smoke and go do your thing, and then when I'm done, I'll come back.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned this earlier. I don't know if we were on the air yet or not at that point, but you said, "Wow, you've been around for a long time." And I said, "Well, you too, Mike." I mean, I think not taking it all too seriously, doing the best we can, and saying, "Listen, this is my opinion. You guys do what you want. I'm going to go have a cigar," and being okay with whatever other people decide. Too many people, I think, get so upset and they get involved in conflict, or they get angry that they didn't get a role or didn't get a sponsorship deal or didn't get that interview they wanted or whatever. And it's not all that significant. We're not curing disease in this industry. We're entertaining people.
Right.
And why don't we just enjoy it and be grateful that we get to do what we do? Because a lot of people wish they could be right where you and I are, Mike.
Mm-hmm. And I look back on some of the things too that I didn't get roles, I didn't get this, I didn't get that, but something, there has to be a reason behind it. And if you try to force yourself to that role, or you have disastrous results. It's like it's like being a round peg being forced into a square hole, or a square peg being forced into a round hole. You think there's an opportunity, but really you try to work, it's like it doesn't really work out though.
You said something that was interesting, and I'm at that point in my life and in my career where people are like, "Wow, you've been around a long time." And I go, "Yeah, thank you," and I'm kind of proud of that because I haven't made it as a big star, and that's okay. But I built a great life without becoming a big star, which is, by the way, is not all it's cracked up to be. By the way, because I have friends that
That's
made it.
true. That's true.
It's not all that it's not all that rosy. But I think the key is to build a life that is contented, grateful, humble, aggressive, hardworking, and yet at the end of the day, contented and peaceful. That's
Mm-hmm.
success. That
Right.
is
And you also mentioned too, with just having like small roles, being content. I also thought of a number of people who have been in small roles and made their lives of just being in small roles. I mean, was it like 40, 50 years they're in small roles and they
oh
build
yeah.
just as much a bank account like they do. And I'm trying to think of one guy. It's like he was oh he was, oh, gosh, I can't think of the name right now. I had him on, and Jim, oh, I'm having one of those moments, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think of those characters. You know what? Robert Sisemi, I think of one of them too. It's like he's been small roles, built up and everything. Maybe unique. It's a really messed up teeth, and that's the thing. I mean, how many people out there in Hollywood have messed up teeth like Robert Buscemi? The thing is that it comes naturally to him. He makes just as much money as the lead person or the second banana or the third person down the road, and makes a great living. But if he try to straighten his teeth, he'd be out of the business. Jackie
But
Gleason, he made millions by being, Mr. Fat Guy and everything like that. Hey, 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 like that. When we slimmed down, career went downhill.
When you see people, a lot of times they get success and they're successful because of their persona and the character that they are, and they get some money and they get everything nipped and tucked. And I'm not saying you can't do a little enhancement, but when you try to change who you are, is my point. It's false. It's speaking with some sort of affectation. I think the authenticity and the truthfulness, and just tell the truth, don't trip over the furniture, say your lines, and walk off stage. The key of what the life we want to build, I think, Mike, is what you said earlier, to be you're that guy in that thing, where they don't exactly know who you are. They're like, yeah, you. And it's interesting. I get that more and more. I know you.
Yeah, you're in this movie. You're in that movie. You're in this. You're in that. I remember you did great. Accolades like that. I've had people say, I heard you on this. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And of course, carry on. So
I did a movie too, and hopefully Cash Collectors, which opens on April 1st at the Beverly Hills Film Festival, directed by Dominic Milano, who is a great guy from Europe. And he kind of grew up around Clint Eastwood. His mother was good friends with Eastwood, and so he spent some time around Clint when he was over there doing the spaghetti westerns. And we'll sell it at some point. We're going to go to another festival in Europe fairly soon, and hopefully we'll have the run like a film that I did called Out of Time, which had over 4 million views on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
And a great thing. And it's just a shoestring budget, written, directed by a guy named Matt Handy. I'm a 1951 FBI agent, actually OSS agent, which is what they were at the time, the precursor to the CIA. And I've gone through a time portal chasing aliens. So it's a period drama set today. And I'm of the 1950s. So I'm paired, but I'm a cop. And I'm paired with a black female LAPD cop. You get 1950s with 2020. And it's great because his view of the world is very different than hers. Well, they fall in love at the end. I don't want to spoil the movie. The good news about the fact that there's so much more autonomy that we have now. I mean, that film was made for little or no money. Special effects aren't phenomenal. It's a story. It's a character-driven story about two people trying to survive, two people diametrically opposed who come together to try to kill aliens that are trying to destroy the world. Well, the world is still here, so Nadej and I must have been successful. We got off on that, talking about opportunities and creating things, and I think a lot of that, hey, I know you, is from Amazon movies like that I did, and things that were, I didn't break the bank, but a lot of people see these things that are being made, and we don't have to rely upon 8 o'clock on ABC on Monday nights to become successful.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And of course, we do have a list of what you appeared on, and if anybody recognizes, you can probably say, yes, I saw Blake Boyd on that. We'll get to those in 1 minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love you to first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has got great reviews, and Eve 11 endorsed by Howard celebrities including Joanna Cassie, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by me and Molson Zia, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2 by me and Molson Zia, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd, and where it all started. It's accompanying turtle relationship with King Saul, story of love, betrayal, repentance, hope, and more. Check out The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also brought to you by Sensei Swing. Eric Diamond's release All of Me, featuring title track I've Got a New Heartache, Bring Me Sunshine, Strike a Match, and more. Eric's a multi-award winning artist and inducted numerous Hall of Fames. Album and Entertainer of the Year, releasing a new CD soon. Check out the amazing Eric Diamond at ericdiamondmusic.com. Also follow on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and more. ericdiamondmusic.com. Make sure you check it out today. Also, The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. You can hear on 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries. Take us with you on any mobile device. For great gift ideas, go to amazon.com. Check out The Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to amazon.com. Check out The Mike Wagner Show podcast for more great gift ideas. Go to amazon.com/me and Molson Zia. Great books, merchandise, and more. Follow The Mike Wagner Show on Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, iHeart, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, also Spreaker, Apple, and more. Support The Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and themikewagnershow.com. We're here at the multi-talented Blake Boyd from Cash Collectors here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before getting more to Cash Collectors a little bit, of course, you talked about, hey, I saw you in this. You've been in Rocketman, Honeymoon, Space Marines, The Cable Guy, one of my favorites, Jim Carrey, and Dark Planet, Raiders of the Sun, Dune Warriors, Out of Time, Messiah, Married with Kids, and more. There's like a few bit parts in those.
You know, you say The Cable Guy. That was Jim Carrey's first big payday. He was paid, it's public information, he was paid $20 million to star in a comedy. By far the most any actor had ever been paid to star in a comedy. And the movie actually did well. It had a big drop off from the first weekend to the second weekend, but when you make so much money your first weekend, it's the movie did fine, and the movie's good. A little darker than most Jim Carrey movies, but that's what Jim wanted to do. And how I got that role was I was in Pasadena, going to go see my therapist, and I had just that previous summer shot First Kid, and I was Sinbad, very popular comedian. I was his by the book rookie partner. We were Secret Service agents protecting the son of the president, and yin and yang. Sinbad and Agent Dash. So we had a lot of fun, and we were very good together. And the movie did really well. People still talk about that movie. But I just finished shooting it. I'm so excited. And I'm in a coffee shop about to go see my therapist around the corner. And I see Ben Stiller, who I obviously recognized. And I could tell they were directing, and he was directing something. I could tell they were location scouts. And in Hollywood, you can kind of tell who's who in a group of people. There's the director. That's the location scout. Okay, that's the assistant. And Ben went to go to the restroom, and I timed my exit as to when I figured he'd be coming back. And I walked in, I sort of ran into him, and I said, "Hi, Ben, I'm Blake Boyd. I just played Sinbad's partner in a Disney movie called First Kid." And he laughed. And as a comedic actor, I do come in on the tail end of the laughter. And when he stopped laughing, I said, "I want to work with you." And he said, "Call Jill Beestrom. She's casting my next movie. Nice to see you, Blake." About 2.5 weeks later, called me in. I saw him. I didn't get that part. It was for the helicopter pilot at the end of the movie, the helicopter. But they called last minute on a Friday afternoon, late, and they said, "Listen, we need an actor that can be around Jim for a week, possibly improv with him." They would consider it a favor if Blake would come in for a week. In this scene, they're going to be playing Porno Password. There's a dinner party scene. And I don't know. We just need real actors that know how to behave on a set. And Ben would consider it a favor. Can Blake do it? I said, "Absolutely." So I spent a week on the film. Great guys, great cat. Leslie Mann, Ben Stiller, Judd Apatow was around. And Jim was, of course, very lovely. Story about Jim, the second night of filming, his daughter, June, shows up.
Okay.
And he says, "June, this is Blake. Blake, this is my daughter, June. And I was the lowest rung on the totem pole on the set as far as the actors, but he remembered my name.
Huh.
His daughter. Very sweet man. And anyway, very happy for Jim and all his success. Haven't seen him since, but true story.
That does sound like a true story as well, too. And of course, I think we had some covered as well, too. And I'm trying to look at this well, too. And you created, I'm just going off the list here, Trucker Jim Bob, the brave little toaster goes to school. And I'm looking at Kamen Rider, Miracles, The Agency, Seventh Heaven, General Hospital. And I'm reading off this all here. So it's like I said, I got a huge list, but we'll just, cover literally a few as well. So, of
Yeah,
course, being on stage too. So that's another one.
I shot a couple of films in the Philippines. Actually, I've shot three films in the Philippines. And as I said earlier, it's not all that glamorous, but it sure is fulfilling is to go to New York and do a play. And of course, friends come to see me in New York. They're not coming to see me; they're going to New York. I'm the excuse they use to come to New York. But that's the most fulfilling and fun when you do an off Broadway show or an off Broadway show. And the jungles of the Philippines, not as much fun. But my first film was done there with David Carradine many years ago, and it was such a challenge working. It was actually at the rock quarry, and everything since then has been easy because that was such a difficult experience. And I've never understood why actors complain about anything, because when your first experience is in a rock quarry, working 6 days a week in Manila, outside of Manila, in May, it's very hot, and it was just such a great place to start from because everything was easier after that. So, you mentioned a TV show. You didn't mention ER, but that was another really exciting show to work on. And I worked on the show the day after George Clooney's last episode. And it
Oh
aired.
wow!
His aired the night before, on a Thursday, and then I went to work on a Friday. And I'd never been on the set before. I'd been on the lot, Warner Brothers, but I could just sense there was a power on the set. Even though George had not been on the set for several weeks prior to that, that episode had aired, and I could just sense the sadness that everyone was experiencing. It was a wonderful set, wonderful crew, wonderful actors, and I was a guy that was struck by lightning, and the power was out at the hospital, so they had to bring me in an ambulance in a rainstorm and load me in through the emergency room window because the door wouldn't open.
Mm-hmm.
So, got an ovation actually because I didn't complain. And when we wrapped that Friday night, we were all leaving, and Noah Wiley said, "Wait, hold on, let's hear it for Blake." Just laying on a stretcher, but not complaining. His water was, again, it goes back to being grateful to have a job and not complaining because, there's a thousand other people that do the job that won't complain. And so I think that attitude is something you and I both have shared that being grateful for the opportunities that we have.
And of course, being in the business for quite some time, and you've been film, TV, productions, and everything like that. And of course, working around great actors, great people, and all that. And before that, you got started and everything. Who are some of your favorite actors, directors, and actors growing up, or producers?
James Arness. And when I was very young, my second part ever, they flew me to Del Rio, Texas. They were shooting Gunsmoke 2, The Last Apache.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and James Arness. It was a movie of the week. Okay, the series had ended, but they were doing these movies of the week periodically, and I had a scene with James Arness, and if I'm sure you know this, Mike, but I don't know if the audience really understands this, but a lot of times big stars will shoot their coverage, they'll shoot the master, they'll shoot their coverage, and they'll leave. Okay, maybe they're older, maybe they're tired, maybe they're kids, they have to go to school or whatever, and you just kind of expect that when you're a young actor and you're starting out, and even now sometimes. And we're getting ready to do my coverage, and Jim had been shooting all day, and all of a sudden the room parts. James Arness walks in, with his cowboy uniform, his New Balance running shoes. He says, "I'm going to do your off camera, kid." And he stood there and he did his off camera for me as a favor. That's an enormous amount of respect that he was showing me. And it sort of set the bar for how actors are supposed to treat one. Because he didn't have to. I'm sure they were saying, "Jim, let's get you back to your hotel, relax, have a drink, whatever." And he said, "No, I'm going to stay and do his off camera." And it sort of set the bar for the way we're to treat one another. And, you know, I recently told that story on Facebook, and someone was like, "Wow, that's you're lucky." But he's one of my favorites, and to work with him, I really didn't, because it was so long ago. I really wasn't aware of the impact that he had on television. Miss Kitty, Gunsmoke, all the great characters, because that was, I mean, Mike, you and I are too young. The 50s and 60s, I think, is when it was.
Right.
And
I
this,
think it was around the area too, but also it started having some reruns as well too.
yeah,
Gunsmoke, Wild Wild West,
yeah,
Bonanza, Ponderosa, and of course you could also offshoot in others too. You know, like the spaghetti westerns we talked about. And I remember watching Gunsmoke. You know, something safe, something to watch. I remember the Wild Wild West. Ross Martin was a really big name back then. I actually liked him, Ross Martin. Bonanza, Lauren Green, Ponderosa. I can't remember who that was. It's like those little stars, you know, James Arness, Ross Martin. You had Lauren Green.
I think too what was impactful about this was those people you just mentioned in those shows really impacted our parents' generation, and those characters were part of the greatest generation that won World War II, and they were part of the fabric and the culture of America back then. And there's a reason they called them the greatest generation. They were special. I mean, Jimmy Stewart, those guys, that era, he flew bombing missions in Europe, not like two, like 35. James Stewart flew a bomber, and Clark Gable, so many other big stars. There's a book called Hollywood at War, and I believe one thing that I'm so grateful for is the late night cigar and reading. I read about 2 hours a day.
Oh
Uh,
wow, okay.
I can't stand watching television anymore. Not, I mean, the media. There's some great shows, but the media. I get my news reading it, and I turn everything off and have a cigar and read. And I've read so many books in the past few years, and one of them talked about that generation at war and the impact that Hollywood had on the war and the freedom that we all enjoy today. So one of the reasons we admire Arness, uh, Stewart, Gable, Eastwood, all those guys was who they were as people and the fiber of their character. So
Hmm.
that,
And John Wayne also came to mind as well too, as you know, having that fabric as well.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Who's your
Fine.
favorite? Who's your favorite actor of that generation?
Oh my gosh. I think you kind of just threw that one by me. And I'm going to probably come out and say I'm going to, let's see, boy, I would probably have to say, my gosh, I'm trying to think where some of the shows I did watch. I would probably have to say just off the top of my head, it was just John Wayne just off the top of my head. I mean, just authentic. He was as genuine. He respected people
Yeah,
very well. And of course,
I no,
of
go
course,
ahead.
yeah, and comedians I'm going to come out and say is Mel Brooks. You know, I'm going to just jump off a little bit that he was just absolutely unbelievable.
I worked with a wonderful actor who's no longer with us, Andrew Prine, and he had a show. He was a very solid actor. He was in a couple of big movies, and of course I can't remember the names now. But Andrew Prine, and he worked with John Wayne on some John Ford pictures. And Andrew Prine was very liberal, and of course John Wayne was very conservative. And John Wayne, they call him Duke. Duke would refer to Andy as his little intellectual friend, his intellectual friend, because he was a younger liberal. And he just talked about working with Duke and how he had a lot of respect for people, even though they disagreed with him. He was always a gentleman. And uh, there was one other, Milton Berle. I know you were going to get to Milton Berle.
Oh, Milton Berle, that's another one. Oh my gosh. I mean, throwback.
Well,
You know,
again,
the days of actual comedy. Yes.
I was doing a play at the Tiffany, and I was an understudy. I didn't get the role, but I was the understudy, and I actually took over the role. But my girlfriend and her parents. This was many years ago, about 30 years ago, actually. And we were going to have dinner. Tiffany's no longer there, but it was a very well-known Equity Waiver Theater on Sunset Boulevard. And afterwards, my girlfriend and her father and her mother took me to dinner at Hamburger Hamlet on Sunset, which is kind of a famous place. And we were walking in, and I see in a car an elderly gentleman sort of leaning over to try to, get up out of the car, and the curb was pretty high. And I reached down. I couldn't see his face. He had on a hat, coat, and I reached down and I said, "Here, let me help you." And he looked up, and I saw his face, and I said, "Oh, wow, it's you." And he said, "You're a fine young man. Thank you. I don't need any help, but you're a fine young man." I said, "Nice to see you. How are you?" It's Milton Berle.
Oh my goodness!
And,
Wow.
when Milton Berle says you're a fine young man twice, and of course I wish I'd have gotten a picture or an autograph. I did, but I think the key, he appreciated. I was trying to help a person, an elderly man who was having trouble, not knowing it was Milton Berle. And I think that's what I'm so glad I didn't know it was him when I offered. I still would have offered, but it was. I'm glad I'm glad he knew that I didn't know who he was. I'm going to say it one more time. Milton Berle says you're a fine young man. That'll work. That'll work.
Something along those lines too, and maybe think of Don Rickles, where if he makes fun of you, he really likes you. That's the thing. He makes fun of you, he really likes you.
I have a friend on Facebook who was a very big actress, still is, and he ripped on her, and she was talking about it on Facebook one day. We have the same manager, and she said, it's such an honor to get ripped by Don Rickles. I mean, it means he likes you and he respects you. I saw him live once at a show, and he was just brutal, and he got everybody, and it was. I see clips of him now, and it's just, I don't know if there are comedians that can do that now. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right. And of course, you got to worry about the times as well, too. And I think there was something about comedians complain they can't go to college campuses, they can't go anywhere. They're afraid of getting offended. And of course, all the political correctness is killing comedy. And if Don Rickles did the same thing, he'll been out of the business like really quick.
Yeah, unfortunately. But what we're alluding to, Mike, and it's what Cash Collectors is also about, is about the evolution of the industry and how it's all evolving, and how things change, but then they all really stay the same. At the root, at the core, it's just tell the truth, be authentic. Did I say tell the truth? You can make people laugh, you can make people feel things. Uh, you know, don't take it too seriously. Just tell stories and empower people. I got a message on Facebook once, a girl I went to high school with, and she said, in first kid, I dance outside the school gym, and Sinbad and the kid won't let me go in, so I stay outside, and the kids are dancing, so they cut to me outside, and I'm dancing, and the Dash is not a very good dancer. And this friend of mine said to me on Facebook, she said, Daddy was in the hospital dying of cancer, and he hadn't really said much, certainly not laughed for several days. But when you came on screen dancing, my daddy laughed. And it was such an impactful moment for me. I'll never forget that. And that, just some stupid little dance in a Disney movie affected someone's, apparent final days. So to that end, what we are doing is serious, and it does have an impact. So we're very grateful to be able to do it, Mike.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're very grateful as well, too. We'll talk more about Cash Collectors with Blake Boyd in just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Me and Wilson's Missing, available on Amazon paperback and ebook, also brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David. Keyword Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner, now on Amazon, and the Sensei Swing, Eric Diamond, with all of me. And I've got a new Heartache and more, ericdiamondmusic.com. We'll be back in the Milton Town, Blake Boyd of Cash Collectors after this time out. We're back to multi-talented Blake Boyd of Cash Collectors here on the Mike Wagner Show, and maybe just some final thoughts about Cash Collectors. What do you want people to just get from the film, and everything like that?
You know, that's a really interesting question, and I've been thinking about that a lot because what do you want people to come away with? I think the message of the film, well, it's funny, it's dramatic, it's what I'd like people to come away with is that they enjoyed it, obviously, and that they encourage people to see it. We enjoyed making it. But just because you see something, just because somebody says something, don't necessarily believe that it's real. And that's decide for yourself, evaluate for yourself. I mentioned earlier how I don't watch media anymore. I read my news, and I go to all the different sources. The ones on this side of the aisle, I
Right.
read all of them.
Or you could go to the internet too, like Axios, Medium, and I think there's like the Minute or something like that. I get these little blurbs too, and of course, I form my own opinion instead of the big three networks.
And that's the point. Thank you for helping me. You're only the third interview I've done on this, and I just saw the completed film today for the first time, and I'm sort of still processing. I'm very proud of it. And I've called the director of media and said, listen, this one section, blah, 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 blah. I think we make it a little better with this, some sound cues, but I think we're pretty close. And he was happy to hear that I thought that way because I'm pretty close because it's me up there. I'm the lead. But I think the message of the film is choose your sources carefully. Choose who you follow carefully. Evaluate with a stringent moral and ethical compass who you want to follow. And in Cash Collectors, some people do that well and some people don't. And it's entertaining.
Right. And certainly indeed, of course, have an independent state of mind too, just like the independent and more. And lastly, where can we find Cash Collectors at? And how do we get to watch?
Well, just keep an eye out. Maybe you have Dominic Milano, the director, on at some point. Once he's sold it, he can talk about it. The film stars Michael Madsen and Chuck Zito and Kostas Mandalar and Angie Everhart and several other people, and me, Lauren Compton, who just had a baby, by the way.
Oh,
And
congratulations!
So once we sell it, it's premiering at the Beverly Hills Film Festival, so it's not sold yet. So I can't answer that question, but I'm sure we'll be able to answer it soon, and I'm sure Dominic would love to talk about it. He's been shepherding this film for a long time. We survived the pandemic. We survived 2 strikes, and that's the challenge of the film business right now. But we made it.
Okay, that's certainly amazing. Where can we find all your works at, Blake?
Well, you can go look me up on IMDb. I'm on Facebook, Blake Boyd. I'm on Instagram, Blake Edward Boyd. I'm on X, Blake Boyd. And send me a message and I'll follow you.
Okay, that's a great idea as well, too. We'll certainly do that with the multi-talented Blake Boyd of Cash Collectors here on the Mike Wagner Show. Blake, just a few more things. What else can we expect me in 2025 and beyond?
You know, I think it's if there was an actor that had a record for almosts, I would have it. I got a call like a year ago, and the casting director called me on my cell, and I recognized the name, and I took it. And he said, "Can you be on a plane tonight to go work on a Michael Douglas movie?" And I said, "Hi, Paul. Nice to hear your voice." Yes. Yeah, funny thing. Yeah, I can. He said, "Sit tight. I'll call you in an hour." I mean, what did you think? I was saying, "No, I'm not doing that." And it was in Mexico City, and I love Mexico. And said, "Sit tight. I'll call you in an hour." And said, "Do you have a passport?" "Yes, I've got a passport." "Is it valid?" "Yes." And so I called back in an hour and said, "Sorry, they're going to go a different way, but you were close, and now you're on their radar, whatever." So I've had probably 25 things like that. I tested for the original Melrose Place. I've been on a veil for reoccurring roles on Stranger Things. 3 times on the Yellowstone franchise. I've been on a veil for reoccurring roles there. Kind of my Texas roots, I think. So to answer your question, we'll see what happens. See what the good Lord has in store. I've got some other business projects that I work on, which are different from the entertainment industry, and they keep me busy and fulfilled. I got a new French French bulldog puppy that's always keeping me busy. And, I'm just certainly not waiting by the phone, but it's my number's coming up and I can feel it. I've been around long enough to know that you go through periods where you don't work for a while, maybe for a long while, and then you just work and work and work and work and work, and then you don't work for a while longer. And so I think it's managing those ups and the downs is what's my greatest skill. My self-worth is not contingent upon whether I'm working or not. It's fun to work, but it doesn't affect my core sense of self, and that's my greatest blessing, I think.
And certainly indeed as well too. And who do you consider biggest influence in a career?
Oh, God, Jesus. Um, I've been at this thing for so long, and the key is what I just said without intending to bring it up. And I'm certainly not trying to proselytize or evangelize anyone, but I mentioned earlier how, when I came out and I started, I wanted to be famous. Well, I think that's what everybody wants when they come out here. But that's not sustainable. I mean, it's not, it's what I was blessed with is starting about 10 years ago was, and I just lost my brother, and I'd lost my father a few years prior to that. And I was blessed with a quietness and a peace and almost like a desert experience where I just had to get real with myself and with God. And I didn't have any bad habits or anything, but I just had to learn contentedness and reliance on God, and where my self-worth comes from, and not accolades and things like that. So that's been the greatest influence. I tell people the key to success in Hollywood is to get to the point where your self-worth is not contingent on whether you're working or not, or your bank account, or your adulation by others, or when you can be truly contented and grateful. The Apostle Paul talks about that. Contentment was his greatest challenge. And so, am I content? No, but I'm much more content than I was.
And I think that's a great point. We all should be content, including myself. I guess speak for myself here. So,
Yeah.
Indeed. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Be grateful, be humble. In all things, give thanks. We know not the hour. We don't know how long we have. And serve others. Serve others. Help other people. That's what King David did. He loved honoring other people. And by the way, I'm talking to myself as much as I am to you, Mike, or your audience. I think that's the have faith in God, work hard, serve others, do the best you can, and be grateful. Be grateful.
And I think we should as well, too. I mean, myself, that's very blessed indeed. So we're the amazing multi-talented Blake Boyd at Cash Collectors here on the Mike Wagner Show. Blake, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people, check out your works, check out Cash Collectors, and more?
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, IMDb is the best way to contact me, or Instagram, message me. I don't have a website anymore. I had one for a while, but IMDb is a better search tool. There's a lot of photographs and stuff, but Instagram, Facebook, and X, I'm accessible on all those. Instagram is Blake Edward Boyd, X is Blake Edward Boyd, and Facebook is Blake Boyd. So,
okay. All right, well, certainly check those out. Once again, Blake, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. We wish you all the best. And Blake, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.